Welcome to Section 18, which is the last section in the last module of this entire training. It is entitled Intermodal Transportation, a definition of accessorial charges. This is actually a fairly short section, so it's a great way to wrap things up. Let's start off with a bobtail. We've heard this terminology before as it relates to draying in and out of ports. It's an additional charge when a driver drops off a full trailer but is unable to remove an empty. It's the same thing in that rail drayage environment. Just like in an ocean drayage environment, nobody likes not having a trailer or a container on the back of their power unit. Second bullet, and this is a term specific to rail transportation, bottom well. This is a cost associated with the shipper requesting that a trailer/container be placed on the bottom of a stack train for security purposes. Another term we've seen before, detention for a driver and detention for equipment. The first, related to a driver, is a fee when a driver is detained at the shipper or consignee. That's the dray part, either at the front end or the delivery end of an intermodal move. The equipment, just like ocean freight, is a charge for holding equipment beyond agreed upon free time. And let's just say that the free time associated with intermodal boxes is usually, almost always, considerably less than ocean freight. Ocean freight, you might see 15 days free time. Not the case in intermodal. It could be a couple of days before detention kicks in. What else do we have here? Diversion. Not unlike the trucking industry, there's a charge for changing the destination of a delivery when the driver is already en route, when the destination dray is taking place. Also similar to trucking is our second bullet, driver load or unload. As the name would indicate, an additional fee when a driver is required to, guess what, load or offload a trailer. High value, that's another charge for loads of a value greater than $100,000. And like any other mode of transportation, the shipper is required to provide a value of the shipment. If it's over $100,000, there's going to be an extra charge. We also have origin per diem. That's the time beyond free time a trailer spends at origin not loaded by the shipper. This can get important when operating a trailer pool, say, at a transload facility. Sometimes it has to be negotiated. Time spent in a trailer pool won't be subject to origin per diem, but it might be. We as importers that work with transload operators need to understand that and make sure it's in our pricing agreement, whatever it might be. No per diem, when does it start, etc. Consistent with that theme, there could be a destination per diem. This is where things can get really dicey. And that's the time, beyond the free time, a trailer spends at destination not unloaded. And those dollars can add up very, very quickly. There's ramp storage, which is a charge for the storage of a trailer at a rail ramp from the time it grounds, meaning arrival at the ramp and it's offloaded, until accepted at the consignee. Reconsignment is a fee for when the delivery address changes after a trailer has been delivered. That's not a diversion. That's a change while the driver is still en route. This is a reconsignment, which says, oh, we changed our mind. Can we have that trailer moved from where it was delivered to someplace else? Last charge on this slide, vehicle requested, not used. This is a fee for when a load is canceled or rescheduled with less than 6 hours notice from the scheduled pickup time. We don't want to be doing that either as a shipper. Let's have a look at a sample intermodal accessorial charges schedule, an actual excerpt from an agreement reached between a shipper and an IMC. We can start by saying, as we see next to our asterisk, this schedule applies to domestic U.S. intermodal transportation only. That just means it doesn't apply to Canada moves or Mexico moves. Across the top, we can see the type of accessorial, any free time, and the charges. Let's run through it. Driver detention on a live load or unload. A live load is when a driver shows up and is going to wait for that trailer to be loaded and take it when it's full. As we see under free time, the shipper is allowed 2 hours to do that, to load the trailer and get the driver out of there. Anything beyond that, $60 an hour. Driver detention at a drop facility, which is to say a driver is going to drop an empty, and he or she has 30 minutes to do that. If they are detained longer than that, it's another $60 an hour. Driver count, no touch, meaning driver has to count pallets perhaps. 0 free time, $75 flat rate. Driver load or driver unload, no free time, $100 per hour minimum. Price per load determined at time of occurrence or agreed to with customer in advance. Hazmat, that's $250 a shipment. Free time not applicable. Railroad terminal storage. That is when a box is at a terminal with a day of notification plus 1 day free. There's that difference between ocean freight and air freight. 1 free day for railroad terminal storage. See rail storage and detention schedule for details. Equipment detention at shipper and or consignee facility. Some more free time details that are very important. Day of drop / notify plus 2 free and first weekend free. Super important details. This is the one that matters the most, actually. After free time expires, days 1 through 3, $35 a day. Days 4 through 7, $65 a day. 8+ days, $150 a day. We talked about the progressive nature of detention, either at the shipper or the consignee facility. This is where the rubber hits the road, and it is very, very expensive. The rail companies, the asset-based IMCs, they want their equipment back. That is why these fees are so punitive. Any diversion, reconsignment, vehicle order not used, dry runs, etc., $150 minimum, and price to be determined at time of occurrence. Any stop-off, just like we saw in the drayage world in and out of ocean terminals, $100 for the first stop-off, $150 for the second, $200 for the third. And then a lumper cost, invoice at real cost, plus 25% service charge. This is typically attached to the line haul pricing offered to a shipper by an IMC. And as one can clearly tell, not paying attention to these accessorials and loosely managing an intermodal program is going to get super expensive. We have to avoid that at all costs as a shipper. What we're looking at here is a sample intermodal storage and detention schedule. There are 3 different scenarios. The first is storage for the day of grounding. That's the arrival at the ramp and the grounding of the trailer, plus 1 free day. There is not a lot of free time in the world of intermodal. The second scenario is day of grounding plus 1 free day, but Sundays will not be charged or be counted in the free time for the following BNSF ramps, LA and Kansas City only. And then storage in the bottom, day of grounding plus 2 free days for all remaining BNSF ramps. We can see here that depending on the ramp, the free time is going to differ. Let's focus on the first one for illustrative purposes. Day of grounding plus 1 free day. We see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We also see the letter G and F. That's the day of grounding. That means when the train arrives to the ramp and the trailer is grounded, offloaded from the train. There's 1 free day for the drayage person to come in and get that trailer out of there. Beyond that, we see charges of $100 for the first 3 days in that first row, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. From there, we see $150 going from that Saturday to the following Saturday. And then starting all over again, and this is an example of the progressive nature of storage and detention, all the way up to $300. This type of schedule is also required as part of a quote. Wow. Here's a title of a slide that most people will be pretty happy with. It's the module objectives for Module 10, which, as we clearly know, is the last of our 10 modules. Let's start by saying, if you did all 10 modules, congratulations. Not an easy thing to do. Comprehensive material. What were the objectives for that final module? First, present U.S. domestic transportation as the final link in a global import supply chain. 2, establish clear operational ties between domestic transportation in the U.S. and the overall import process. Hopefully, we were able to do that. 3, position domestic transportation as a source of competitive advantage and an integral part of a company's value prop. We said that in every single module. Whether it was ocean freight, whether it was air freight, dealing with purchasing, dealing with sourcing, we're looking to create competitive advantage. Second to the last objective, of course, this has been an operationally oriented training program from the get-go. One of our goals has to be to enhance operational knowledge, in this case, of port drayage, FTL, LTL, and lastly, intermodal transportation. Finally, highlight the financial implications of managing a domestic transportation program. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Let us officially say, on behalf of Mercado Labs, congratulations and thank you. All the best in your endeavors in international trade, and please do stay safe. Thank you very much.